Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andreas Nurcaya Utama, and you can call me Norman. Right now, I'm studying in UNES, taking the graduate program, majoring the English department. Today, I'm going to talk about the topic of SLA, or Second Language Acquisition, lectured by Mr. Joko Sutopo. The title is The Introduction of SLA and Its Correlation with Ages. First, I want to refer my presentation from a researcher named Rob Ellis in his book, Understanding Second Language Acquisition, Second Edition. He said that second language acquisition is a complex process, in many ways much more complex than first language acquisition, as the factors involved are more numerous too. For a start, as second language acquisition takes place after first language acquisition, it is influenced by the first language. Also, whereas first language acquisition is almost invariably accomplished in the first few years of the child's life. Some learners learn more than one second language. In fact, in many communities, it is normal for a person to learn to speak several languages. It might make sense, therefore, to also talk about the third, fourth, fifth. Let's say this Indonesian boy speaks Indonesian as his mother tongue, and then the second language, he might learn Japanese. The third is English, and the other could be Mandarin. Now let's talk about the friability in learner language. At any stage of development, learners will manifest variability in their use of the second language. Sometimes they will make errors, and at the other times they will use the target language form. Let's say a baby or young learner. They say, I see book. It is ungrammatical. After some years, they learn and might produce, I see a book with proposition. And then it is getting better, turning into, I see some books, when he already learned about plural. Okay, according to Krashen, 1981, acquisition is sometimes contrasted with learning, on the assumption that these involve different processes. So, acquisition refers to the incidental process where learners pick up a language without making any conscious effort to master it, whereas learning involves intentional effort, both to study and learn a language. So what do you think about the meaning of second language acquisition? To me, it is a context of learning language, in which when somebody is learning second language, he uses unconscious effort, so automatically learning. Now, let us focus on the learner, pointing out some of the ways in which learners differ from each other and how these differences impact on learning. One of the most obvious ways in which second language learners differ is in terms of their starting age. Some learners start learning a second language in early childhood, while many others have to wait till they go to school, often secondary school. A common assumption is that children are better language learners than adults, and therefore learners will be more successful if they start learning a second language when they are young. It is necessary to distinguish the effect of age. on ultimate attainment, the rate of acquisition, and the root of acquisition. Now let's talk about it one by one. Correlation between age and ultimate attainment. Before we go deeper, let's see, there are two questions. The first one, can adult learners of second language acquire native-like proficiency in a second language? The second, do learners who start learning a second language in childhood acquire higher levels of second language proficiency than learners who start as adults? What do you think? First, we have to understand the meaning of adult learners and also a child learner or a young learner. Yeah, from the word adult, so we can say someone starts learning their second language when they are adults. And child learner or a young learner, they might start learning their second language when they are young or even when they are baby. What about the proficiency? Proficiency here can be terms of pronunciation, grammar, and also the pragmatic ability needed by individuals to use language, in this case second language, linguistically appropriate ways. Okay, so they use their second language in their society. Okay, now what's the correlation between age and ultimate attainment? Okay, in research, Oyama in 1976 investigating 60 male immigrants who had entered the United States at ages ranging from 6 to 20 years and had 41 been resident there for between 5 and 18 years. And then she asked two adult native speakers to judge the learner's accents into 45-second extracts taken from performance on a reading aloud task and a free speech task. And in the end, Oyama reported a very strong effect for age of arrival, but almost no effect for number of years in the United States. Secondly, we talk about the correlation between age and the rate of acquisition. In general, older learners learn more rapidly than child learners, except possibly in pronunciation. Older learners only have an initial advantage, but over time, child learners catch up and surpass them. Do you agree? Okay, let's see the experimental research by Cochrane in 1980, investigating the ability of 54 Japanese children and 24 adults to discriminate English and The average length of naturalistic exposure was calculated as 245 hours for the adults and 193 hours for the children. Before the instruction, the children outperformed the adults in pronunciation. However, when the two groups were taught the phonemic distinction, the adults benefited while the children did not. Thirdly, let's see the correlation between age and the rate of second language acquisition. Brown in 1972 reported a longitudinal study of 3 children's acquisition of a group of English morphemes. So at first, a child learns about plural S, like book becomes books. And after that, the child continues learning past tense for the verb like cook, become cooked. And then lastly, the child will learn about the articles, the use of a and the. Other case may be a learner acquires plural S as in voice before they learn about the third person S as in comes. Okay. Last but not least, I want to talk about the educational policy. Yeah, because we all know that it also affects how the growth of second language in the country. Okay, in many countries, language instruction traditionally began in secondary school, but increasingly countries are opting to start at the elementary school level. However, policymakers should consider carefully before introducing second language. At best, it might assist the development of a more native-like pronunciation, but there is no clear evidence that it holds any advantage for other aspects of second language acquisition. After this, I'm going to play a video. It is about some students' activity. I took the record in a bilingual school in which they are learning English as their second language. Let's find out how the students use their English as second language, and what do you think is the difference between English as second language in young learners and us maybe as adult learners. Check it out. Okay, this is the end of my explanation about the second language acquisition definition and the correlation with ages. If you have a question or comment, you can put it in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe my YouTube channel, Move Circle Math. Okay, thank you for listening. Have a nice day, everyone.